Hey there, close your eyes for a second and ask yourself this one question. What would your life look like if fear didn't control all the shots? I'm talking about that voice in your mind that tells you, I can't, I'm gonna fail, I'm not good enough. Right now, I'm going to expose fear as the biggest con artist in your entire life. And what if I told you it's the number one thing that is holding you back from accomplishing anything in your life? Today, we're going to do something radical, and I'm going to take fear out and shed some light on it and show you who's really in control. And one of the most fascinating things about fear is that so many people get so scared of it, when in reality, fear is just there to protect us. If you think about who it is we are naturally, we humans want to be safe, we want to be protected. So whenever anything in our lives comes to us and says, hey buddy, you might get hurt over here, whether it's physically or emotionally, this fear comes up and looks to protect us. The way I like to look at it is it's like a big brother who's trying to protect the little brother, who might be a little bit more aggressive to the 5-year-old friend of his little brother, but regardless, he's going to be looking to protect you. And we have to start to say to ourselves, what is this fear doing to us? And how is it that we can start to look at it in a different way? Because if we can start to say, hey, you know what? This film that we're playing, this picture of fear in front of us, and I had no way of getting around it, maybe what I could do is I could just start to shrink it just a little bit into the corner to not get rid of it, because at the end of the day, it's not a bad thing. We just don't want it to be able to control us. We want to be in control of it. So now let's try to figure out what it is we can start to do and how we can start to shift our mindset a little bit to be able to accomplish these things. And the first thing we need to think about is on the opposite extreme, meaning what if the fear is right? Let's say you're about to ask a girl out, or you're about to ask your boss for a promotion. What would happen if they say no? And most of the time, nothing bad would happen. You'd feel bad, or you'd feel a little awkward, but then you'd probably live on. And it might have happened to you already in the past, and you look back and you're like, wait, I'm fine today. Nothing really happened. But you gave it so much energy, and that happens all the time. What we need to start to see for ourselves is, what is it that we can start to do? How is it we can start to picture it a little bit to say, what's the worst that can happen? Even if it's something in regards to financially, and you want to make this investment and you're scared to do it, but you know this is the right thing for your family, but you're not really 100% sure if it's going to work out. And then what is the worst thing that can happen? Do you have a family member who is going to be able to protect you, or to bring you in, or to give you food? Is there somebody out there who can be able to just give you that shelter and security? And most of the time the answer is yes. And that fear is the thing that really stops us from taking the action that we know we need to take in order to take the quote unquote risk, that fake jump across, to be able to accomplish the thing we want to be accomplishing. And that's why it's connected to my second point, because most of the time when we look back at the things that were fearful for us, that we took action about, we know that emotion already. We are comfortable with that emotion already. We're just usually siding with this scary feeling of it holding us back. What we have to try to do is develop the skill to be able to teach us how is it that we can start to be able to focus more on that success that we had, that time that we were able to be courageous and to be able to take the action regardless of that fear that we had back in the past. Because for so many of us, we are constantly living in this anxiety world where so many things are scary for us to do, but we really have built it up for ourselves. It's really all up in here. And what we have to start to do is to give ourselves the pattern and to give ourselves the story about other times we were scared and we were able to really make ourselves be accomplished in those moments. Because once we could do that, we are going to lessen that fear, lessen that anxiety, and be able to start to accomplish and take the action that we're looking to be taking. The third idea is an idea that I really love speaking about when it comes to risk. You see, a lot of times when you have something you want to be doing, you have this investment you want to be making, you have a certain risk in your life that you want to be taking. And you have all the reasons why you shouldn't do it. And most people will probably tell you you're silly for even thinking about doing it. But one question that I like to ask people when they're debating between these two different options, that one seems risky and one seems very safe, is, what's the risk if you don't? You see, for so many of us, we look at one side of the coin, but we're not looking about what's the other side of the coin. What happens if I don't take this risk? So for example, if somebody wants to be able to transition from one job to another job, and they're going to have to quit and go cold turkey to get this other job that might pay you a little less in the beginning, but it might have a better upside in the long run. So we need to ask ourselves, well, what's the downside? The downside is you stay in this safe 9 to 5, and you know in 3 years from now, you're for sure not going to be able to support yourself. So we need to start to ask ourselves, it is risky to do, but it's also risky not to do. So when we're scared to do something, let's use that same idea. What happens if we don't do this thing? Yes, it's very scary to take this action. Yes, it's very scary to go over to that person and ask them for a favor. Or it's very scary to start this business, but it's also very scary not to do it. There's a reason why you want to do it. So what is it that we can start to do to allow ourselves to be able to see that and do that in order to be able to accomplish a thing that we want to be accomplishing? Because there's so many of us, we get so scared and we hold ourselves back. But if we can start to say, hey, you know what? It's even scarier on the other side. We can use that quote unquote fear to be able to make us move forward and to take the action that we're looking to take. And this brings me to my last point. When we are trying to do something that is very scary, instead of thinking about all the fear that is going on, we have to start to ask ourselves, how can I be somebody who's bold? And this is one of those really cool shifts that we can start to make when it comes to really taking any type of action. Think about somebody that you know who would really step into that moment, that would be able to take that action and succeed and do the thing extremely well. And ask ourselves, how can we become that person? So if you're playing basketball and you want to say, how can Steph Curry or LeBron be the one to be able to step into this role right now? What would they have to do? What would their mindset? What would they feel like inside? If you want to be some type of salesperson, look up to some salesperson, sales guru who has real success and say, what would this salesperson do when they come into this type of call? And if you could start to figure out all these different things and start to become somebody who's bold, somebody who's confident, you can really pretend to be that type of person, and you're gonna have so much more energy when it comes to that thing that you're looking to build. So many of us get so scared and we let the fear hold us back as opposed to seeing that opportunity. And if we could just look to present ourselves in a way to become that person, then we're gonna be able to succeed at the thing we're looking exactly to do. And if you're somebody who still can't get through the fear and you know it's some type of mindset issue, make sure to take a look at this next video where I talk about the top 3 mindsets that are holding you back and keeping you stuck.